Today, I am proud to present to the City Council a balanced budget, along with a formal recommendation to adopt the Funding Our Future tax proposal under consideration tomorrow evening. The opportunities to address our critical needs and to build a resilient capital city through this proposal are unprecedented. We truly have a rare opportunity to control our own destiny. I want to begin by thanking our finance team led by Mary Beth Thompson, John Vike, and Lisa Packwood for diligently working over the last few months to craft this fiscally responsible budget reflective of the values of Salt Lake City's residents. To say this year's process was unique is an understatement. With the potential new revenue generated from the Funding Our Future tax proposal also comes great responsibility to allocate this funding strategically and transparently to meet the goals set by the people in this community. My recommended budget this year is presented in two parts: our general fund expenses and revenue, and the potential revenue from the tax proposal. These potential funds have been allocated in the identified critical needs areas of transit, affordable housing, roadway improvements, and neighborhood safety. As a whole, this budget is focused on people and investing in the city we are proud to call our home. It is the manifestation of the values we all share. For the last 2.5 years, my administration has been driven to create a city for everyone, with the values of equity, resilience, and empowerment leading our decision-making. Our mission is to deliver excellent customer service and develop progressive solutions that allow our residents to live, work, and play in the capital city. This mission is carried out by more than 3,000 city employees who go above and beyond their job descriptions every day. In March, a call came in to our 911 dispatch center. The caller, a woman who was out of breath, both from running and from the fear she was feeling after a violent encounter with her boyfriend. As she continued to run, Lisa, who is our 911 dispatch director, calmly directed the shaken woman to provide details on her whereabouts so she could send help. And help did come very quickly and in an unlikely manner. A team with our sanitation crew was out in one of the marked city vehicles inspecting recycling cans on the street. The woman quickly made her way to the vehicle and found refuge in the back seat and comfort from Jen Farrell and Kelly Curvin, two city employees. When handed the phone, Kelly indicated to dispatch they had encountered the woman's boyfriend as he was circling the block. Jen, Kelly, and now Larson Jackson, a sanitation truck driver who encountered the situation on his route, all kept the woman safe until police arrived just minutes later. This is just one story of many where a city employee has gone above and beyond the call of duty. Each of our employees is a civil servant dedicated to the people and the success of Salt Lake City. As mayor, I couldn't be prouder to lead this incredible workforce. The employees care for this city, and it is our responsibility to care for them. Over the past 3 years, my recommended budgets have focused on correcting imbalances in the pay structure within Salt Lake City, namely ensuring our employees are fairly compensated for the work they do compared to their peers in the greater market. This effort is not only fair, but a prudent action for the city to take in a tight job market. With a recommended salary adjustment of 3% this year, along with adjustments we made over the last 3 years, we can continue to compete with the greater market and keep up with the 3-year average inflation rate of 5%. This pay adjustment, along with meeting the demands of a 7% increase for our health care costs, represents the largest change in this general fund budget. These increases have been largely offset with budget cuts throughout departments, operational efficiencies, and vacancy savings. I want to thank every department, division leader, and your finance experts for examining your budgets closely to find those savings. This work has allowed the city to maintain funding in critical areas, including our commitment to Operation Rio Grande, homeless services, and meeting our 7% allocation to the Capital Improvement Program, which helps fund maintenance and repair projects for our city's physical infrastructure. My recommended general fund budget also includes some small investments in programs and equipment focusing on improving the quality of life for Salt Lake City residents. These include a one-time $360,000 investment in parks, trails, and open space cleanup projects, ensuring these important spaces continue to be a place we can all enjoy spending our time at. There is a one-time $250,000 investment in new equipment for the fire department to help keep them one of the best in our nation. This is a rating reinforced in December when the Salt Lake City Department became the first agency in Utah to receive a Class 1 designation from the Insurance Service Office. With this designation, Salt Lake City Fire Department joined a small group of 270 elite departments in the entire nation. This rating is used by insurers to assess rates, which could ultimately mean all of us will pay less for insurance because of their strategic planning. I am also recommending an increase of $30,000 to the Arts Council's grant program to help our local artists continue to flourish in our city. And as I always say, we are in this together. So my budget recommendation includes funding to continue partnerships with organizations across the city, which are focused on empowering individuals who are in need. This funding includes a one-time $33,000 commitment to the YWCA to complete a domestic violence study, which will help with the life-saving work they do in collaboration with our law enforcement team. And $30,000 to help expand the impact of the Bicycle Collective's Goodwill Bikes program. This program provides bikes to those most in need, helping them access employment opportunities and create connectivity with their local shops. Our greatest opportunities for this fiscal year and for years beyond lie most profoundly in the funding our future tax proposal, which is before the City Council tomorrow night. Over the course of 2.5 years, our city has developed plans and strategies to tackle deferred maintenance of infrastructure and address future growth. The Funding Our Future proposal, which city staff has been engaging the community on for the past several months, is an opportunity for the capital city to control its own destiny. If passed by the council, Funding Our Future will allow the Salt Lake City to do what many cities across this country have been unable to accomplish. That is to implement our strategic plans quickly through a dedicated funding source. Through engagement on both the funding option and the development of the plans themselves, we know the community is committed to addressing the issues of affordable housing, transit, neighborhood safety, street repairs, and clean air. If passed, we anticipate Salt Lake City to collect an additional $25 million in revenue in this fiscal year, with collections beginning in the fall. And in future years, we anticipate a full year of revenue to generate $33 million from this tax. As presented in my recommended budget, this funding will be fully directed to the critical needs identified by the community and for which we have robust plans to move forward. It is important to note that it will take multiple years for us to fully realize our goals in each of these areas. This year, I propose jumpstarting each of our plans with groundwork noticeable by residents immediately and from which future phases can be built upon. And when it comes to the roads, rebuilding is exactly what we need to do. It is from these bays that you see here today and this garage that our streets and maintenance crews prepare for their days in repaving roads and filling potholes and sealing cracks. To fully accomplish our goal of rebuilding the worst of the city's roads, 2/3 of which are rated poor or failing, and to perform the necessary maintenance to prevent the best roads from falling to a similar fate, these bays and this garage must be more active than it is today. To keep Parviz Rokva, the Streets Division Director, and his team busy, I am proposing $7.1 million of the new tax revenue to be directed to our streets and infrastructure programs this year. This includes $2.9 million for a new construction and maintenance crew. This additional crew will allow the city to maintain 155 lane miles of roadway annually, doubling the amount that we can maintain today. We will also be able to maintain an extra 5 miles through efficiencies. With the new crew, our maintenance teams can work side by side on Salt Lake City's unusually wide streets. This simple act allows for faster treatment application, thus creating the extra lane miles, roughly the distance between City Hall and Sugar House. Though we recognize the largest impact of the road construction funding gap will come from the potential voter-approved general obligation bond of $87 million. It is imperative, though, that we begin our work now. With this in mind, I am also recommending that $3.75 million of the potential sales tax funding be allocated to the city's capital improvement program to fund shovel-ready road and sidewalk projects throughout our city. To keep our streets and neighborhoods safe and secure, we must also begin our phased approach of increasing the number of police officers in our city. Last year, the council approved the hiring of up to an additional 50 police officers for our neighborhoods. These 50 officers include 27 that we will bring back to our neighborhood bike patrol teams, which have been diverted to the downtown area, and an additional 23 officers for regular patrol efforts. Over the last few months, Chief Brown has already recruited 36 individuals to fill vacant positions the Salt Lake City Police Department had due to natural attrition. These new officers will graduate from the academy and are anticipated to be in our neighborhoods by May and in September. The next phase of our efforts will be to recruit the 27 officers identified by the police department as critical to our patrol efforts. To allow this phase to move forward, I have recommended $2.2 million of the potential sales tax funding to be set aside for new salaries, as well as $329,000 for equipment costs. These officers will enter the academy this year and will graduate over the next 10 months. However, the pool of applicants has shrunk considerably in our market. And in order to address retention and recruitment concerns, we also must address our overall compensation competitiveness with other agencies around the state. In order to address this concern, I am also recommending allocating $2.5 million to provide an overall salary and benefit increase, along with an additional 401k increase for our new officers. These changes will put the salary and benefits package offered by Salt Lake City Department on par with our competing agencies to recruit and retain officers that we need. This will help Chief Brown and his team meet the goals we have set. This year's hiring phase will also include the completion of an independent staffing study currently being conducted by the International Association of Police Chiefs. This comprehensive study will help Salt Lake City Police Department better identify our staffing needs as the city grows and manages the daily influx of people. It will also help direct resources in a very strategic manner. As with all of the identified critical needs, we must move forward with solid data and studies, as Chief Brown says. We must rely on the value of intelligence-based policing in making our staffing decisions. With last year's staffing approval by the council, Chief Brown has the ability to implement the next phases of our hiring goals over the next 2 years using a data-driven approach. With crime down throughout the city, additional officers will reinforce the success Salt Lake City Police Department has achieved and bring a neighborhood approach back to our communities, further reducing crime. This staffing model will also require additional civilian personnel. I am recommending in my budget a new case manager, victim advocate, social workers, crime analysts, and crime lab technicians. The Funding Our Future proposal will also allow the city to begin implementing the growing Salt Lake City housing plan we passed last December. With a proposed allocation of $4.1 million this year, we anticipate being able to create housing opportunities for more than 400 individuals and families. Our housing proposal includes funding a variety of programs to create new centers, to create new units, stabilize renters at risk, and increase access to home ownership. The largest portion of this funding proposal, $2.1 million, will be directed toward our Housing Trust Fund, which provides financing and incentives to include affordable units in mixed income developments. Utilizing the Housing Trust Fund, Salt Lake City has already been able to leverage private dollars to create housing at all levels of income. In fact, for every dollar invested, $20 of private investment has been leveraged. And through the Housing Trust Fund, the majority of city investment is returned to the city to be used for future affordable housing units. Never has the city had the stable source of ongoing funding for this program, which has the ability to change thousands of lives over the next coming years. My recommendations also include $656,000 in rent assistance and approximately $443,000 in programs to stabilize the most vulnerable individuals in our community. Two critical components, and they are unprecedented efforts to prevent homelessness. We know without housing, there can be no end to homelessness. Together, these programs have the power to create opportunities for more than 350 individuals and families, helping to keep kids in their homes and in their own neighborhoods and attending their schools, creating much-needed stability in their lives. I am incredibly proud of the work this entire city has done to address homelessness and the housing crisis we are facing. Now is our opportunity to truly build a city for everyone by ensuring all Salt Lake City residents can afford a place to call home. Finally, I want to address the critical need of transit in Salt Lake City. With the first ever transit master plan in hand, Salt Lake City is poised to take one of the largest steps we can to clear our air and provide economic stability to residents across the capital city. With the adoption of Funding Our Future proposal, significant funding will be directed to transit, continuing Salt Lake City's legacy of leading the region and the state in the future of transit. My budget recommendation proposes allocating approximately $5.3 million of funding toward the implementation of the Transit Master Plan this year. As we move forward through the phases of this plan, residents and businesses will see a strong network of buses and services intersecting the capital city, with particular focus on connecting our east and west side neighborhoods with the downtown core. In phase one, I propose investing nearly $2.5 million in the creation of a high-frequency bus network along 2100 South, 900 South, 200 South, and 600 North, or possibly 10th North. These routes connect major employment, education, and residential areas throughout the city and are critical to developing a culture of transit in Salt Lake City. With this funding, riders can expect 15-minute or better frequency Monday through Saturday between the expanded hours of 5 a.m. and midnight, and at long last, Sunday service. All of this means shift workers and students participating in after-school activities will finally be able to rely on transit and travel between home and work, getting people out of their cars and clearing our air, which is our #1 goal. The dramatically improved service is anticipated to begin on these routes on UTA's appropriately named Change Day in August of 2019. These service changes will require additional buses and additional capital investment. My budget recommends allocating $400,000 to meet this need and the additional funds that will be necessary to move toward an electrified system. I am also proposing a $1 million fund to launch 2 unique programs in areas of our city which are transit deserts. In the coming year, we will launch the Home to Transit program, which will cover the cost of rideshare type services to residents on the city's west and east sides who are more than 1/4 of a mile from a 15-minute bus service. The service will provide door-to-door stop service, eliminating the last mile, first mile problem for many of our riders. We will also work with businesses in Research Park and the industrial west side to provide a similar type of shuttle service for employees in these areas. This Work to Transit program will be a cooperative partnership designed to ultimately be managed and funded by willing business partners, a service which will provide these businesses an opportunity to do their part in clearing our air. During this phase, we will also invest $1.1 million in transit infrastructure improvements, including ADA upgrades, signal improvements, and enhancing bus stops. Again, these upgrades are critical part of creating a culture of transit in Salt Lake City. We should expect any culture shift to take time, but by investing today and demonstrating our ability to make effective improvements through a phased approach, we can achieve our goal and clear our air. More than ever before, Salt Lake City has the ability to control its own destiny. I want to thank the thousands of residents of Salt Lake City who have seen this vision, who have gotten behind us with their support through our engagement efforts for the Funding Our Future proposal and the creation of these master plans. If adopted, the Funding Our Future proposal will place a great responsibility on me, the sitting members of the council, and future leaders, one that I take very seriously. In the coming days, we will launch the first version of an online tracking dashboard so you can see the proposals I have made, any changes that are made by the council, and the ultimate impact these funds will have. As projects come online, you will see that our website will be updated regularly through the Funding Our Future dashboard. You will be able to track what we are doing and what we are spending these tax dollars on. That is a very important piece to all of us regarding transparency. We will also continue our engagement efforts related to the bonding proposal we are exploring for the November ballot, a bond which will jumpstart road reconstruction throughout the city. In closing, I want to say thank you to the Streets Division for hosting us today. My hope is in the future years, you will be too busy to host an event like this. Thank you all again for coming today. Thank you to the council for their consideration of my budget recommendations. Thank you, everyone.